And away we go. Episode 1309 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Thursday, April 23rd, 2026. It is the day of the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft, in which the Washington Commanders have the number 7 overall pick. We on Thursday night, at last, will find out what our team does with that number 7 overall pick. Will Washington stick and pick? Will Washington trade down? Will Washington trade up? We don't think that Washington will trade up. I'd be shocked if Washington traded up. But who knows? Who knows what General Manager Adam Peters is thinking, is cooking up. Hashtag let Adam cook. On this podcast have focused our draft coverage on 8 guys. Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love, Ohio State receiver Carnell Tate, Ohio State safety Caleb Downs, Ohio State edge defender / linebacker Arvell Reese, Ohio State linebacker Sonny Styles, University of Miami edge defender Reuben Bain Jr., Texas Tech edge defender David Bailey, and LSU cornerback Mansour Delane. I would think that the player who Washington picks at 7, if the Commanders stick and pick at 7, will come from that group of 8. But again, who knows? My official prediction, if Washington does stay at 7, is that the Commanders take Carnell Tate. One of the rising things to look at when it comes to sports and politics are the outlets that make up what is called the prediction market. Kalshi is an internet-based prediction market platform based in New York City. It's mainly used for sports betting, but Kalshi, as of Wednesday morning, had Washington and the Cleveland Browns at 6 as the co-favorites to draft Carnell Tate, 21%. Make of that what you will. The last time that Washington used a number 7 overall pick in an NFL draft, the pick was, do you know? Cornerback Champ Bailey. We hope whoever the team takes at 7 on Thursday night, if the team doesn't trade down, works out as well as Bailey did. Although, of course, a lot of his great work came with the Denver Broncos. Hello and welcome to this Thursday installment of the Al Galdi podcast, on which we talk Washington Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. A new episode is out each weekday morning, Monday through Friday, by 5 a.m. Eastern, and often much earlier than that. NFL draft analyst Todd McShay of The Ringer. He does the McShay Show podcast. He, in an installment that came out on Tuesday, said this about Washington at 7.
7 is Washington. Sonny Styles is not sitting there. Caleb Downs is there, and Carnell Tate are the 2. There's been a lot of talk about Tyson there. I was told a while ago, they're a Tate team.
Yeah, we're Tate guys.
Well, David Blau, if you look at, I actually was looking into David Blau and what he wants to do. He's looking for physical receivers, guys like Carnell Tate. I can simplify it for that. The description of what he's looking for in his first year as offensive coordinator, surprise decision, either a big mistake or they got ahead of someone who's going to be an absolute star in this league. Obviously, pulling for the latter.
Yeah.
But he wants a big physical receiver. Carnell Tate is a big physical receiver, right?
Yeah.
And so that would be a perfect complement to another former Ohio State wide receiver. What would we do? Because I'm told it comes down to Downs and Tate, but I want to give you the honest to God truth. The last conversation I had was very authoritative, and that was this pick will be defense. Quinn has got it. What's the word I want to look? It is priority is too light a word. It's a demand.
Mandate.
It's a mandate. Thank you. My brain doesn't work that well this week. It's a mandate that we get that defense fixed, and we'll give you the resources. But if it's Caleb Downs, then it's got to be Caleb Downs.
Mansour Delane from LSU, maybe.
Could be. This is the information portion of it. In this scenario, it would be Downs or Tate. But I'm told defense is going to win out with this pick. So I would expect if Sonny Styles is not there, it's going to be Downs.
So there you go. Todd McShay expecting Washington, if it sticks and picks at 7, to take Carnell Tate or Caleb Downs with a lean toward Downs. Next segment, a conversation with NFL analyst Dan Pizzuta of Snaps and Stats. We will explore a topic very relevant to Washington in this draft: positional value in the NFL. How meaningful is positional value? Are we perhaps looking at positional value all wrong? Dan wrote a really good piece about this. He also will discuss why he's bullish on Washington for the 2026 season and where he's at with Washington quarterback Jayden Daniels. Dan Pizzuta, next segment. And also on the show, I'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. The Nats, they hit 3 home runs, but gave up 4 home runs. This in an 8-6 loss to the Atlanta Braves at Nationals Park on Wednesday evening. The O's, they concluded a 3-4 road trip with an 8-6 win at the Kansas City Royals on Wednesday afternoon in a game in which the O's overcame a 3-2 6-inning deficit by scoring 6 runs in the top of the 6th. The O's won 2 out of 3 games in the series. Before we get to feedback, the Washington Capitals, they on Wednesday morning announced bad news, but also expected news. The Caps announced that defenseman Rasmus Sandin on Tuesday underwent a surgical procedure to address a torn right ACL that he suffered in the Caps' 6-3 win at the Pittsburgh Penguins on April 11th. The Caps in the announcement said, quote, a return-to-play timeline will be determined by his individual progression, with typical recovery from this surgery estimated at 6 to 9 months, end quote. We on Monday morning had a joint season-ending press conference for Caps President of Hockey Operations Brian McClellan and Caps Senior Vice President and General Manager Chris Patrick. Patrick, during the presser, said that Sandin is expected to be out for the start of the 2026-2027 regular season. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. Email from Kendall Hayes on Washington potentially trading down from 7. We on Wednesday's show, episode 1308, talked about this at length with Sam Fortier, former Commanders insider for the Washington Post. Writes Kendall, Al, why would the Redskins benefit from trading down into what is described as a weak draft class? Let's get at least one stud in this draft. Keep the number 7 pick. Thank you for the email, Kendall. That's not an unreasonable take, but to me, the more picks, the better. The more swings in a draft, the better. If Adam Peters is who he is supposed to be, then he should not need a number 7 overall pick to get a stud, because NFL draft history shows that there are studs everywhere in a draft, even bad drafts. If Adam Peters is who he's supposed to be, then the team should be best off by him trading down and getting more picks with which he can get good players. More picks should equal more good players. But I get the idea of if you really like someone who's available at 7, just take him. That idea is not crazy. It just means that you better be right about who you take at 7. Email from Kent Phillips. On my personal big board for this draft, writes Kent, Al, will you please give your personal top 6 NFL draft big board for the Commanders? I say 6 and not 7 because the first pick is pretty much settled with Fernando Mendoza, and quarterbacks are obviously not applicable to this exercise anyways. Thank you for the email, Kent. This actually is a tough question because they're with every one of the players who we've been discussing as potentially being taken by Washington at 7 are things to really like and also things about which to be concerned. Like they are all flawed prospects, which is part of why this is viewed as a not-so-great draft. If we are taking Fernando Mendoza out of the mix, here are my top 8. I'll do better than 6. I'll give you 8. 1, Arvell Reese. 2, David Bailey. 3, Sonny Styles. 4, Cornell Tate. 5, Mansour Delane. 6, Caleb Downs. 7, Jeremiah Love. 8, Reuben Bain Jr. But honestly, I have all 8 guys bunched in tight, and I would be excited about Washington taking any one of these guys at 7. Now, there are questions with each guy, but I would be pumped about Washington taking any one of them at 7. However, my preference does remain for Washington to trade down. If you are among the many people for whom buying eyeglasses has been complicated and costly, check out Warby Parker, W-A-R-B-Y Parker. Nothing comes close to the quality, price, selection, and customer service of Warby Parker, which has revolutionized buying eyeglasses. Once you buy from Warby Parker, you realize how much easier it has made the entire process. Warby Parker's virtual try-on is a total game changer. You literally can try on glasses from your phone before you buy them. You just point your camera and boom, you see tons of frames on your face in real time. Warby Parker's prescription glasses start at $95, so you can actually get quality and stylish frames at an affordable price. And Warby Parker doesn't just offer incredible prescription glasses. It has everything that you need for happier eyes, including contacts, online eye exams, and sunglasses. Warby Parker is covered by major eye insurance plans. And how about this with Warby Parker? For every pair of glasses that Warby Parker sells, it also gives a pair to someone in need. Warby Parker has distributed over 20 million pairs of glasses to people in need through its Buy a Pair, Give a Pair program. Warby Parker is offering a great deal to listeners of the Al Galdi podcast. Right now, buy one prescription pair and get 20% off any additional prescription pairs at warbyparker.com/Galdi. That's 20% off additional prescription pairs when you go to warbyparker.com/Galdi. warbyparker.com/Galdi. Look, choosing life insurance is tricky. Heck, life insurance as a topic can be uncomfortable, but Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack, but people don't understand when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
Hey, please consider subscribing to the podcast if you're not already doing that. Subscribing to the podcast costs nothing. Make sure that you never miss an episode and helps out the podcast a lot. And if you're already subscribing, thank you. The 2026 NFL Draft, in many ways, is a referendum on positional value because some of the most well-regarded players in the draft play non-premium positions. So just to be clear, the premium positions are quarterback, offensive tackle, receiver, edge defender, and cornerback. The non-premium positions are center, guard, running back, tight end, interior defensive lineman, linebacker, safety, kicker, punter, and long snapper. But there with some of these positions is room for debate, and that's part of what makes this, at least to me, an interesting topic. Will/should the Washington Commanders, if they stick and pick at 7, use the pick on a non-premium position player like Ohio State linebacker Sonny Styles or Ohio State safety Caleb Downs or Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love? We welcome back to the Al Galdi podcast Dan Pizzuta of Snaps and Stats, which is on a platform called Ghost, similar to Substack. Snaps and Stats provides analysis of the NFL from both an analytics perspective and an X's and O's perspective. Dan does a great job of combining the two worlds. The site is at snapsandstats.ghost.io. And Dan for Snaps and Stats wrote a really good piece that came out this past Friday, April 17th. Headline quote, "Are we framing positional value correctly?" End quote. Also, Dan last summer wrote the chapter on the Washington Commanders in Aaron Schatz's FTN Football Almanac 2025. You can follow Dan on X at Dan Pizzuta, and Pizzuta is spelled Pizzzuta. Hey, Dan, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to talk to you. So I enjoyed reading your piece on whether we're framing positional value correctly, and you in the piece got into the complexity of the positional value topic. What compelled you to write the piece?
Yeah, I think what compelled me to write the piece is basically what you said. One is that this is a very strange draft where we do not have the perceived premium positions being the top guys in this draft. There's one quarterback that might be taken in the first round, and that's the guy that's going to go first overall. Maybe there's a second, but no one's going to be really excited about that. Even the top edge rushers, guy like Arvell Reese, number 2, might be better as an off-ball linebacker. So it's a very specific draft class that we haven't really gotten. There's, one really top wide receiver. While there's depth at the position, they're probably going to go to the mid to late rounds. It's not, this type of, number one receiver, number one edge rusher type of things. And even the offensive linemen. It's a lot of right tackles. It's a lot of just, guys who are going to be first round talents, but not the types of, clear top fives that we've seen in previous drafts. So when you have, a running back, a safety, those linebackers who are seen as like on the big boards as the best players at the position, you start to talk about them a little differently. But then that brings us into positional value and how we it's often talked about is in the just structure of contracts and their second contracts. And I kind of wanted to dive into that a little bit because, we know what gets paid in free agency. It's, it is the quarterbacks, it's the wide receivers, it's the edge rushers, the cornerbacks. But I kind of struggle to think that puts a lot of trust in the NFL having a very efficient, well-calibrated market on second contracts. And I think if you just kind of look at, wide receiver this past year where Alec Pierce got, I think, $24 million this year in free agency as like the top available wide receiver. But when you look at like a safety, Kyle Hamilton is the top guy on the market at $25 million. Fred Warner at inside linebacker, $21 million per year. It's hard for me to think that that's just not a market inefficiency itself by those guys having a kind of artificially depressed market. So just because they're not getting these big deals over the second contracts that they have after they're off their rookie deals, I kind of think that's where you're getting a lot of your surplus value when we so often talk about rookie contracts. But I think if you're really looking at just quarterback is really, I think, the only position where that is truly going to matter. Although running back is the place where those are so close together. That's where I think we can still have this conversation.
What you were just talking about and what you wrote about brings up a key question. What makes a premium position a premium position? What is a premium position more about contract value or importance on the field? What say you to that?
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of the conversation right now. And I think that the premium positions are certainly, I think if you frame it as positions that are on their own able to make something happen on the field. And I think that is where we get a quarterback is still, relies on a lot of different pieces, but is a isolated position in how good like a quarterback can be. I think, when you look at tackle and wide receiver, I think that is also like they are kind of controlling what they are able to do. I think it's the same thing, edge and cornerback. That's why we kind of have this conversation about running back because so many other things get put into how good a running back can be. Is this a good scheme? Is the offensive line blocking and things like that? So, but when you look at, a safety or a linebacker right now, I think you can probably argue, especially in today's game, the way the NFL evolved, especially in 2025, these guys, especially if you were going to project them as being some of the best at the position, these are positions that are going to matter a whole lot. We've seen what a Nick Amenwari can do potentially to completely shift a Seattle defense last year. You see what a Fred Warner can do. Even like a guy like Ernest Jones in Seattle, that last year in 2024 when they traded for him, that defense completely changed once he got in the lineup. So I do think we are starting to see these positions that we kind of haven't valued quite as much are having a bigger impact on the field than they have in the past couple of years. So I think we're starting to see how much of an impact those guys can have on their own.
And I wonder if you could speak more to that, because that is a key development, the rise in importance of linebacker and safety. These non-premium positions are becoming more premium positions in terms of importance on the field. Why is that?
So I think we're starting to see, especially, last year, over the past couple of years, we're always getting kind of some kind of cyclical versions of NFL offenses. For a while, once Sean McVay came into the Rams, it was all 11 personnel. So everyone wanted to have 3 receivers and spread out. Last year, especially, we saw teams as defenses got better at figuring out how to stop the 11 personnel and some of the wide zone kind of run schemes that the McVays and the Shanahans had. Teams started to get a little bigger on offense. So we saw a lot of 12 personnel with 2 tight ends. We saw the Rams really lean into 13 personnel with 3 tight ends. So we saw them getting bigger and still being able to run their offense with kind of bigger bodies on the field. Defenses then had to figure out how they were going to be able to defend against that. And we saw some start to play base a little more often. That's 3 linebackers on the field, but not a lot of teams have 3 good linebackers. So really the cheat code was figuring out how to be able to still play nickel personnel to those heavier bodies and still have someone in a position who could be big enough to take on the tight ends in the run game, but also have enough coverage ability. That's where we kind of saw Nick Amenawari, who either played slot corner or a linebacker. When you have a Fred Warner, a guy who can do something like that, is what a Kyle Hamilton can do. So when you have a body type that can play all the potential roles against bigger offensive players, especially with the tight ends when we're using more tight ends, if you don't have to change up your personnel on defense to be able to defend against that, that's kind of where the defenses are starting to have an advantage again.
So this is fascinating. There is this rise in importance of linebacker and safety in terms of each position's importance on the field, but the contracts for these positions aren't yet reflecting that rise in importance. So that does make for a big-time market inefficiency, right? One that can be exploited by smart teams. Are any positions in the current NFL decreasing in value?
It's not really, because I think we are continuing to see the cap continue to go up too. And I think teams are just kind of embracing that. I don't think we're seeing as big of a leap in some other, I think, for wide receiver for a very long time was kind of jumping up higher than like the cap was going up. I think we're starting to see a little bit of it settle here. And even running back is a position that was kind of stagnated for a little bit, went down. I think we're still seeing kind of at the top of the market. It's going up. It's certainly not increasing at the rate of other positions. But I think we are seeing just kind of a steady increase everywhere. I think we're starting to see interior offensive line is not, as highly regarded as tackle, but we're starting to see more increases at guard too. And we just saw when an actual good center gets on the market, like we saw in Tyler Linderbaum, there's a team that's going to be willing to pay an exorbitant amount to get some of those guys in. And so much of this contract value, which I kind of hit on in the piece, just comes from, especially at the top of the market, like who actually becomes available. We do see, a lot of people say that you really don't get tackles available on the free agent market, and that still is true. But a lot of this wide receiver movement, top of the wide receiver market, really stems back to like the DeAndre Hopkins trade from Houston to Arizona and the way he set up his new contract and the way that just kind of dominoed all the way into players getting over $30 million a year now at the receiver market. So it just kind of takes one guy to move these markets at the top. And for like safety and linebacker, we haven't really seen that movement. So there's really been no pressure on NFL teams to go above and beyond paying what they need to. And the NFL teams are never going to do that unless they really have to.
Much more with Dan Pizzuta in moments, but if you enjoyed this podcast, check out BGO Blind Pig, the official podcast of BGObsession.com. BGO Blind Pig is great. It is a roundtable discussion of the Washington Commanders. It's like you and a bunch of your buddies who are Washington fans are hanging out and talking about the team. The conversation is smart and fun and respectful. Lots of good pre-draft content from BGO Blind Pig. Enhance your Washington Commanders content via the BGO Blind Pig podcast. You can find the BGO Blind Pig podcast on YouTube and on any any major podcast provider. Make BGObsession.com the home for your burgundy and gold obsession, and make the BGO Blind Pig podcast part of your Washington Commanders podcast rotation. We're talking with NFL analyst Dan Pizzuta of Snaps and Stats, a position that I especially wrestle with regarding premium position versus non-premium position is cornerback. And I've especially thought about this when it comes to whether Washington might take LSU cornerback Mansour Delane at 7. Cornerback is considered a premium position in large part because of the importance of pass defense, but cornerback has been shown to be a position at which there is extreme volatility. Most cornerbacks' performances fluctuate violently from season to season. What's your view on how premium of a position cornerback is?
Yeah, it is tough. It usually and especially these past couple years, I think we have seen some of the top cornerbacks be able to continue year to year to have high level performance. I think we saw with Pat Surtain. I mean, obviously, he wasn't a defensive player of the year again in 2025, but he was still a very good corner. Even like a J.C. Horn, who got a pretty massive deal. We've seen it with Derek Stingley. I think the top corners in today's NFL have been better at replicating top level seasons from year to year. Where you get I think a little iffy with corners is where you have kind of the second tier to kind of the middle tier of guys. And usually those are the ones who are hitting the free agency market. So that can be a little bit where you get in trouble if you're trying to pay a very high price. But I think you can kind of find some value there too, where you can kind of bet on a guy for a lower price. And that's where you can, I think, find, especially in free agency, find some guys who are going to outplay some, mid to low tier contract value. And I think that's probably where the sweet spot is when you're seeing it. I think you're still good paying the top level guys that you think are going to be good on second contracts. And then I think if you're kind of looking out into free agency, if you can find, some of the smaller bets that you can make, I think that's probably the best place to do it.
How would you describe the current offensive environment in the NFL?
Yeah, I think we are just in a place where we're coming back in kind of like that cyclical moment, kind of like I said, where, the 2018, that scoring explosion, especially in 2020, when, we didn't have a lot of penalties, scoring was at like all-time high. We saw defenses start to kind of figure some things out. And so it kind of slowed. The offenses started to, they weren't getting heavier yet, but started to rely more on the ground game. And we've started to see a little bit more of kind of slowing down. We were getting a little more, the rushing efficiency was super high in 2024. We didn't see that quite as much in 2025, but I think we're starting to come around. And I think, we're going to get back up to scoring more, because also the kickoff here is what's been happening. The average starting field position has just completely jumped to around the 30, and that's over like 40% of drives right now have a score. I think we're seeing more field goals because teams are better at kicking field goals. Kickers are better. So I think the teams that are still going to be able to get into the red zone, figure out how to score touchdowns, are going to be much better. And I think we're going to continue to see teams to figure that out. But I think just scoring in general is, I think, going to continue to uptick, just because I think we are in an environment, just like field position wise, where scoring is more likely.
The basic tenet of offense matters more than defense in the modern NFL. That tenet still is correct?
Yeah, I think we're still in a position where projecting going forward, offenses are going to be more predictive in what we can do than a good defense. I still think like a great offense is probably going to be better than a great defense, but I think it's getting closer than it has been, especially at the back end of 2025, where we just kind of saw, when you look at Seattle or a Houston, just we're combining the schematics that really understand what these offenses are doing with players that are just absolutely incredible. And I think there are a few defenses. I think we're seeing the best defenses are probably better than they have been in the past couple years. But I think the league as a whole, we haven't completely figured out that defense yet. So I think there are certainly more defenses offenses now that can be that kind of guiding figure of a team, which I think we saw with Seattle, we saw with Houston. But overall, I think offenses are still better league-wide.
As mentioned, you last summer wrote the chapter on the Washington Commanders in Aaron Schatz's FTN Football Almanac 2025. Their 2025 season, as you may have heard, did not go so well. We this offseason have had a revamping of the coaching staff, the team in free agency. This offseason has done a lot to address the defense. What's your take on where the team is at?
I'm still kind of a little optimistic about where this team potentially is because I think that the 2025 season was going to be a very specific one because it was really in the end of that first initial wave of free agency. When Dan Quinn came in, and it was a lot of older veteran players and signed to like 1 or 2 year deals. And like we saw with the injuries, obviously the biggest one to Jayden Daniels, when kind of everything there was one crack, it really continued to just fall apart, and the defense never fully came together. What they did this offseason is they sort of replicated what they did in that first offseason, but got so much younger. Over the first 2 years of this regime, it was one of the oldest teams in the league. But pretty much every free agent they signed this year was significantly younger. A lot of guys in their mid 20s. So I think that is going to help, especially on defense, when you kind of look at all the talent that they needed to bring in. When you have, now an Owe and a Chason who can certainly help on the edge. That was such a need last year. You have some guys in the secondary, like Nick Cross, I think is going to help a lot. And then I think just getting the offense healthy is going to be a big part of that. You obviously just kind of had the offensive line was iffy, and I just think a healthy Jayden Daniels is certainly going to help boost whatever the offensive scheme is going to be. So I think as long as he's healthy, there's not a lot I think there should be to worry about on offense. And then when you just kind of look at what their defense did, bringing in all of those players and younger players, I think is certainly a better positioning themselves than they did heading into last year.
The QB1, Jayden Daniels, all-time great 2024 rookie season, injury-ravaged 2025 season. Do we write off his 2025 season, or is it cause for concern?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always going to be a little bit of a concern about him, and it's the same one I had going into his career of, whether he is going to try to take the hits that he has. And I wonder if just kind of having the injury depleted season that he had will kind of make him not do that quite as much. But I think in terms of if they're able to continue to keep him safe, tell him to slide a little more or get out of bounds. I think that is certainly going to help. Obviously, like his injury did not really, come from the way he put himself in danger, but it's just something that is always going to pop up and be something that's on top of mind for a quarterback like him who does still seem to seek contact out. But if he's going to be healthy, I think he's going to be able to figure out whatever the structure of the offense is going to be. So I don't have as much worry in the efficiency of what he can do in an offense if he's going to be on the field.
NFL analyst Dan Pizzuta of Snaps and Stats. Dan, thank you. All the best.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. Whatever big event that you're planning, a wedding, a party, whatever, consider using a great sponsor of this podcast, cateringbyuptown.com. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Catering by Uptown is outstanding. It is a family business. It is run by the Pereiras, who are great Washington Commanders fans. Catering by Uptown is committed to meeting your every need with elegance and precision. Catering by Uptown takes care of every detail so that you can enjoy your event, and Catering by Uptown's specialty is weddings. Get excellent service at an affordable price. In fact, if you visit cateringbyuptown.com and click on venues, you could check out Catering by Uptown's premier wedding venues. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. That's cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. one of the biggest problems for the Washington Nationals during these rebuilding seasons has been the home run. Here are the Nats rankings in MLB in home runs over the last 4 regular seasons. There are 30 teams in MLB. 2022, number 28, 136 homers. 2023, number 29, 151 homers. 2024, number 29, 135 homers. 2025, number 24, 161 homers. Well, the Nats so far in MLB's 2026 regular season have been stunningly good offensively. A big reason for that, the home run. The Nats on Wednesday evening hit 3 home runs, but the Nats on Wednesday evening gave up 4 homers and lost. An 8-6 loss to the Atlanta Braves at Nationals Park on Wednesday evening in Game 3 of a 4-game series. This was a game in which the Nats blew a 4-1 second-inning lead. The Nats in this regular season now are 11-14. The Braves in this regular season now are a National League East best 17-8. The Nats in this 8-6 loss to the Braves at Nationals Park on Wednesday evening were good offensively, but could have been even better. 6 runs, 11 hits, which were 3 home runs, 2 doubles, and 6 singles, 3 walks, but the Nats went just 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position and struck out 12 times. So that run total of 6 could have been even higher, but the 3 homers give the Nats 30 homers over 25 games. That works out to a pace of 194 homers over 162 games. That would be outstanding. Homering for the Nats in this game were James Wood, Dalen Lyle, and Joey Wiemer. James Wood, another good game. He is the Nats starting right fielder and number 1 batter, went 2 for 3 with a solo homer, a single, and 2 walks, one of which was intentional. Wood in the Nats' 2-run 6th had a one-out opposite field solo homer to left center field on a 1-2 pitch to cut the Nats deficit to 8-6. So the homer went a projected 413 feet per Statcast. James Wood for this regular season now has an OPS of 999 and now has 9 home runs. Dalen Lyle, he is the Nats starting left fielder and number 5 batter, went 2 for 5 with a 3-run homer and a double. Lyle in the Nats' 4-run first had a 2-out full count 3-run homer to right center field for a 3-1 Nats lead. The homer went a projected 407 feet per Statcast. And Lyle in the bottom of the 5th had a 1-out opposite field double to no man's land in left field on a 1-2 pitch. Dalen Lyle got off to a slow start, but he for this regular season now has an OPS of 770. And Joey Wiemer, he came off the bench to pinch hit and serve as the Nats DH. He went 1 for 1 with a solo homer and a walk. Also had a stolen base. Wiemer in the Nats' 2-run 6th had a pinch leadoff homer to left center field to cut the Nats deficit to 8-5. Joey Wiemer for this regular season, 52 plate appearances, OPS of 1,086. Limited playing time, but man, he has made the most of his playing time. But yeah, the Nats in this 8-6 loss to the Braves at Nationals Park on Wednesday evening gave up 4 home runs. The Nats starting pitcher was Zach Littell, and he again was really bad. He allowed 8 runs, 6 earned in 6 innings. He gave up 7 hits, which were 4 home runs and 3 singles. He issued 2 walks. He recorded just 1 strikeout. He threw 96 pitches, 62 strikes, 34 balls. The home run, again, big-time problem. Littell in the top of the first allowed a run as he gave up a 1-out first pitch solo homer by Drake Baldwin to right center field for a 1-0 Braves lead. Littell in the top of the second allowed 3 runs, only one of which was earned, but he gave up a 2-run homer by Michael Harris II to right field to cut the Nats lead to 4-3. The homer went a projected 414 feet per Statcast. Littell in the top of the third allowed a run as he gave up a 2-out opposite field solo homer by Michael Harris II to left field for a 5-4 Braves lead. And Littell in the top of the fourth allowed 3 runs as he gave up a 2-out 3-run homer by Matt Olson to right field for an 8-4 Braves lead. Now, credit to Littell for ultimately eating up 6 innings, but Zach Littell now for this regular season, 5 games, including 4 starts, ERA of 7.56, whip of 1.68, 11 home runs allowed in 25 innings. That is a staggering home run rate, 11 homers allowed in 25 innings. And Littell in the 2025 regular season allowed the second most home runs in MLB at 36. So that was second to the 38 home runs allowed by Nats starting pitcher Jake Irvin. And Littell, again, is giving up a lot of homers. The Nats on March 10th announced having signed Littell as a free agent to a one-year contract with a mutual option for the 2027 season. The contract, per reports, features $3 million for this season and then a mutual option of $12 million for the 2027 season with a $4 million buyout. So he's guaranteed $7 million. This is his age 30 season. He, for the Tampa Bay Rays and Cincinnati Reds over the last two regular seasons, was good, but he right now is reeling. This was Nats manager Blake Butera during his postgame press conference on Wednesday night on Zach Littell, and then you'll hear multiple follow-up exchanges.
Yeah, I know he's frustrated as anybody. He's not happy with the way he's pitching. We need to sit down as a group with Zach. The thing is he feels great, like health-wise, which is first and foremost. But yeah, I think if you ask Zach, he just left too many pitches over the heart of the plate, and they didn't seem to miss tonight. But I know Zach's really frustrated, and we're going to try to help him get this right.
It would be easy to say that a guy who signed late, didn't get really a full spring training, might be off to a slow start in the season. Do you think there's any correlation to that?
There could be. Yeah, there could be some of that. I keep going back to, I think Zach's mostly frustrated because he says this is the best his body's felt in quite some time. So I know he's just frustrated because he feels good out there, and obviously the results aren't what we would like to see. At the end of the day, he just seems like every mistake he makes is getting punished. So we'll talk with Zach. We'll make sure we help him through this. Zach's a pro. He's going to be ready to go next time his turn rolls around, and we'll get this right.
Zach was really good into swing and miss, and I feel like that 3 whiffs, almost like 45 swings. I guess when you look at that, is it a matter of pitch location, sequencing? I guess when that happens, what do you attribute that to?
I think with Zach, he's not normally a guy that gets a ton of swing and miss. He is a contact type of pitcher. It's just normally the contact is off the barrel, whether it be ground balls or just under pitches. But tonight just didn't seem to go that way. And his last start, same thing. I keep mentioning, he feels really good, and that's the most frustrating part for Zach. But there's no doubt in my mind, just the type of person he is, the worker competitor he is, he's going to do everything in his power to fix this as soon as possible.
Can we turn to the final 7 guys in the last 2 innings were clean, just something you feel like maybe you did differently in those final 2 frames compared to the first one?
I don't know. I need to go back and look. But I was happy with the way he finished. It's always good to end on a positive note when you go through a night like tonight. And I think him being able to get through 6 and save the bullpen as well is huge for us. But yeah, I know he finished on a strong note. Just not sure what specifically he did differently.
And when you mentioned his frustration that he's most upset with himself of anyone, are you seeing that frustration compound on the mound, or is that something that just once he's out of the game it kind of sits with him?
No, I think when he comes in between innings, he's definitely frustrated. But he's done this for such a long time. He knows how to separate that, and when the inning starts, he's back out there in compete mode. Like I said, he just didn't seem to make pitches tonight and got punished when he didn't do that. And but he's a pro about it. Every time he's out on the mound, he's competing. He's not bringing the last inning with him.
That Zach Littell is giving up home runs isn't shocking, but that he has an ERA of 7.56 is surprising. Like I said, he for the Rays and Reds over the last 2 regular seasons was good. Made at least 29 starts in each of the 2024 and 2025 regular seasons, and he during that stretch accumulated 6 wins above replacement per Baseball Reference and registered an ERA of 3.73. The Nats relief pitching in this 8-6 loss to the Braves at Nationals Park on Wednesday evening was good. 2 Nats relievers combined for 3 scoreless innings. Mitchell Parker tossed 2 scoreless innings, and Julian Fernandez tossed a perfect top of the 9th. Game 4 for the Nats against the Braves at Nationals Park Thursday afternoon at 1:05. Cade Cavalli will be the Nats starting pitcher. Well, we as Washington, D.C. sports fans know quite a bit about rebuilds, right? Spring is a great time of year to reset your wardrobe, but unlike the Nats and Washington Wizards rebuilds, a resetting of your wardrobe doesn't take years. Thanks to Quince. Quince is great. The fabrics feel elevated, the fits are thoughtful, and the pricing actually makes sense. Quince makes high-quality, everyday essentials using premium materials like 100% European linen and an insanely soft flow-knit activewear fabric. Quince's men's linen pants and shirts are lightweight, breathable, and comfortable. Basically, the perfect layer for spring. The pants strike the right balance between laid back and refined, so you look put together without trying too hard. And maybe the best aspect of Quince is that its prices are 50 to 60% less than those for similar brands. How? Well, Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're paying for quality, not brand markup. Everything is designed to last and make getting dressed easy. Refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/Goldie for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/Goldie. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Goldie. Look, choosing life insurance is tricky. Heck, life insurance as a topic can be uncomfortable, but Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. We've all been there. You're away for the weekend, the big game is on, and you realize you're restricted from watching. Or maybe you're trying to check the latest lines on your betting app, but your local network is blocking the site. These are the ultimate unforced errors. You can prevent this from happening to you with IPVanish. IPVanish is the powerhouse VPN designed to keep you in the game no matter where you are. IPVanish helps you stay connected to your favorite team and streaming services while you travel, but it's not just about watching the game. For the bettors out there, IPVanish provides an extra layer of security and privacy that helps you access your account safely on public Wi-Fi. Plus, IPVanish is lightning fast, so you won't have to worry about lag during those crucial live betting moments. Right now, get a massive discount at IPVanish.com. That's IPVanish.com to get started today. Secure your play and go to IPVanish.com. The Baltimore Orioles on Thursday have their first off day since April 9th. They on Wednesday afternoon wrapped up a stretch of 13 games in 13 days, and the O's concluded that stretch with a win, an 8-6 win at the Kansas City Royals on Wednesday afternoon to win 2 out of 3 games in the series and to conclude a 3-4 road trip. This was a game in which the O's overcame a 3-2 6-inning deficit by scoring 6 runs in the top of the 6th. What a crazy series this was. Monday night, a 7-5 12-inning win at the Royals in a game in which the O's overcame a 1-0 ninth-inning deficit. 10 of the game's 12 runs were scored over the 11th and 12th innings. Tuesday night, a 6-5 walk-off loss at the Royals in a game in which the O's overcame a 4-3 eighth-inning deficit but blew a 5-4 eighth-inning lead. And Wednesday afternoon, an 8-6 win at the Royals in a game in which the O's overcame a 3-2 six-inning deficit by scoring 6 runs in the top of the 6th. The O's in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 12-13. Their offense on Wednesday afternoon came through. 8 runs, 11 hits, which were 2 home runs, 4 doubles, and 5 singles, 3 walks, 4 for 12 with runners in scoring position. The O's had their way with the Royal starting pitcher Michael Wacha. He allowed 6 runs in 5 1/3 innings. Pete Alonso, he is the Orioles starting first baseman and number 4 batter, went 1 for 4 with a 2-run homer and a walk. Alonso in the Orioles' 2-run first had a 2-out opposite field 2-run homer to right center field for a 2-0 Orioles lead. The homer went a projected 410 feet per Statcast. Alonso also for this regular season now has an OPS of 699. Maybe, hopefully, he's getting going. How about Kobe Mayo? He had been really struggling, but he, for a second consecutive game, hit a monster 3-run home run. Mayo, as the Orioles starting third baseman and number 9 batter, went 1 for 4 with a 3-run homer. Did commit a throwing error, but Mayo in the Orioles' 6-run sixth had a 1-out 3-run homer to left field for an 8-3 Orioles lead. The homer went a projected 452 feet per StatCast, and this was off what Mayo did in the 6-5 walk-off loss at the Royals on Tuesday night. Mayo in that game in the Orioles' 3-run second smashed a 1-out 3-run homer to left field for a 3-0 Orioles lead. That homer went a projected 439 feet per StatCast. Kobe Mayo for this regular season, 69 plate appearances, OPS of 556, but a monster 3-run homer in each of the last 2 games. Dylan Beavers, he is the Orioles starting right fielder and number 3 batter, went 2 for 5 with 2 doubles. Speaking of doubles, Taylor Ward, he is the Orioles starting DH and number 2 batter, went 1 for 3 with a double and 2 walks. Ward for this regular season now has an OPS of 839 and now has a whopping 13 doubles. Jeremiah Jackson, he is the Orioles starting second baseman and number 7 batter, went 1 for 4 with a 2-run single. Leody Taveras, he is the Orioles starting center fielder and number 6 batter, went 2 for 4 with an RBI single and another single. Jackson and Taveras, 2 sneaky bright spots for the O's so far in this regular season. Jackson OPS of 830, Taveras OPS of 926. The Orioles starting pitcher in this 8-6 win at the Royals on Wednesday afternoon was Chris Bassett. He struggled. He officially allowed 5 runs in 5 1/3 innings. He gave up 8 hits, which were 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and 4 singles. He issued 2 walks. He recorded just 3 strikeouts. He threw 88 pitches, 55 strikes, 33 balls. Bassett now for this regular season, 5 games, all starts, ERA of 6.75, whip of 2.06. The Orioles starting pitching continues to be a major disappointment. People, myself included, talked about the O's on paper having their best starting pitching rotation in years. Well, the O's for this regular season now have the following starting pitching stats: ERA of 4.37, whip of 1.50. Not good. But the Orioles' relief pitching in this 8-6 win at the Royals on Wednesday afternoon was mostly good. 3 Orioles relievers officially combined to allow 1 run in 3 2/3 innings. Now, Yadier Cano officially allowed 1 run in 1 inning. He faced 4 batters and got 3 outs, but he and the Royals' 3-run 6 gave up a 2-out 2-run homer by Kyle Isbell to right field to cut the Orioles' lead to 8-6. The homer went a projected 406 feet per StatCast. So Cano giving up the homer was bad, but Tyler Wells, he tossed 1 2/3 scoreless innings on just 10 pitches. I wondered if he would pitch the bottom of the 9th. He did not. But Anthony Nunez tossed a scoreless bottom of the 9th with 2 swinging strikeouts for the save. The only blemish was third baseman Kobe Mayo committing a 2-out throwing error. The O's for this game were without their closer, Ryan Helsley. They on Wednesday afternoon announced having put him on the bereavement/family medical emergency list and announced having recalled relief pitcher Jose Espada from AAA Norfolk. The O's for this regular season have the following relief pitching stats: ERA of 3.58, whip of 1.15, strikeouts per 9 innings of 10.16. Those are good stats. The problem for Orioles relievers has been the home run. 13 home runs allowed over 93 innings. But the O's won the game, won the series. We, during O's manager Craig Albernaz's postgame session with reporters on Wednesday, had this exchange.
What did this team show you with how back and forth this series was?
Yeah, Royals are a tough team. It just shows our resiliency, and that's kind of what it's been all year, and how we take hits and keep bouncing back, whether it be injuries, whether it be tough games, whether it be falling behind. Our guys just keep on competing and know that until the 27th out, we still have a chance to win.
All right, no game for the O's on Thursday. Next up for them is a 6-game homestand beginning with a 3-game series against the Boston Red Sox at Oriole Park at Camden Yards in, believe it or not, the Orioles' first American League East series of this regular season. Yes, their first intra-division series of this regular season. The O's have not yet listed their probable starting pitchers for the series, but Game 1, Friday night at 7:05. Game 2, Saturday afternoon at 4:05. Game 3, Sunday afternoon at 1:35. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Friday's show, episode 1310. We'll have much more on the Washington Commanders' in-depth reaction to and analysis of whatever they do with their number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, for which the first round is on Thursday night. Also on Friday's show, we'll talk Washington Nationals. The Nats are home to the Atlanta Braves Thursday afternoon at 1:05 for Game 4 of a 4-game series. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and I'll talk to you on Friday.
7 is Washington. Sonny Styles is not sitting there. Caleb Downs is there, and Carnell Tate are the 2. There's been a lot of talk about Tyson there. I was told a while ago they're a Tate team.